I'm not an all or nothing kind of guy. Name a band, I can find something to enjoy.
No, anything but that.
Okay, maybe not that one. These are 10 albums I love from 10 bands that I normally don't, and we're starting with Incantation and Diabolical Conquest. This band largely bores me to tears. It has a lot to do with not being a big fan of Doom, but even their death metal moments tend to come off as pretty bland in comparison to the other OSDM bands I like from this era. This album, on the other hand, that kick drum reminds me of early Gorgoroth, and the songwriting feels much more chaotic in the best possible way. It reminds me of why I'm a big fan of Portal. This is also the only album with Daniel Corchado of The Chasm on vocals, and he's easily my favorite fit for the band. I feel like all of their best qualities really form Voltron here. You've got the insidious serpent-like doom riffs, the noisy, squealy parts on Disciples of Blasphemous Reprisal. Just a really well-rounded album with great pacing and all the band's strengths at their peak. Next up is Burzum with Filosofem. I'm not ever going to deny the importance of this project to the genre of black metal as a whole, but goddamn is most of this shit boring as hell. Get up! I love me some early Emperor, Enslaved, Darkthrone, Immortal, virtually all of the big foundational bands, but not this one. However, if I am in the mood to throw on some Burzum, this is always my go-to. Lots of great little earworm synth lines, and songs often really ride this weird balance between being totally ugly and supremely chill at the same time. I particularly like Dunkelheit and Jesus Told. If Varg's talent had a peak, I feel like this was it, and I even see a lot of the fans hold this album up in a similar way.
Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby.
Then we have Autopsy with the Headless Ritual. Similar thoughts on this one as with Incantation, too much doom, not enough headbanging. But this album is a great slice of brute force, D-beat infused mosh pit fuel, and groovy slime. Slaughter at the Beast House just kicks in the fucking door in the best possible way. Definitely some of their most pummeling tracks here in the likes of Mangled Far Below and the super punky Arch Cadaver. But also some pretty psychedelic sounding riffs and guitar solos which only further the sense of unhinged madness on others like She Is a Funeral, as well as some interesting dramatic vocal choices on Coffin Crawlers and big atmosphere on Thorns and Ashes. At times, this one feels almost like listening to a live performance or even some dark ritual fitting to the title. Y'all, we still have plenty more albums to go, but as always, if you're enjoying the video, hit the like button, and as we go along, comment some albums that you enjoy from bands that you generally don't. Getting new metal, we have Mudvayne with LD50. Now, I loved this band when I was in high school. I'd even go so far as to say that they were one of my favorites in the time after they released this banger in 2000. Aside from Dig being one of those defining and even meme-worthy new metal classics, you've also got Internal Primates Forever, Death Blooms, and my personal favorite, Nothing to Gain. Every band member is firing on all cylinders here, especially bassist Rhino and drummer Matthew McDonald. Not to mention the songwriting is more mathy and experimental than it ever would be from here. After this, I feel like they watered things down with The End of All Things to Come, and it only went off a cliff from there. I'm intrigued to hear what a new album might sound like in the 2020s, but I'm not hopeful that they will ever recapture the glory of their debut. Then we have Obituary with Slowly We Rot. Another OSDM band that as a whole I'm not a huge fan of, but I am kind of stretching the definition of the video here. I do enjoy them more than Autopsy and Incantation, but generally if I'm in the mood for this band, it's the debut that I tend to reach for. I get that Cause of Death is the favorite and it's good, but personally I prefer this one out of their discography. The demented vocals make it sound like John Tardy is going rabid, and a solid atmosphere takes the otherwise kind of simplistic riffs a long way. Even the slower ones like Till Death are seriously head bob inducing. I also think that it's one of the better sounding debuts in terms of production from this era. It does get a little slow in places, and I definitely prefer the faster, thrashier stuff like Intoxicated, but overall this is a must-listen banger. Then we have Dark Funeral with Where Shadows Forever Reign.
I told you my brother left me live a soft life and lived away beyond the borders of this realm.
This black metal band has been a frequent punching bag for me over the years, not because they're terrible, but because I find them to have one of the most mid discographies in the genre. They're like the Wonder Bread of black metal to me.
It's quite bland, I assure you.
That said, this 2016 album is actually quite good and ended up being one of my favorites of that year. Unchain My Soul is a fantastic opener and one of their best songs overall in my opinion, and then from there they managed to really maintain a great balance of some of their best atmosphere and riffs of their entire career. I don't know exactly why in the midst of everything else this one came together so perfectly, because the follow-up this year is back to the bland and forgettable territory. They should really consider figuring out what the special sauce was for this one. Then we have Stained with Break the Cycle. Ask me about this band in general and I'll describe them as a super lame and largely now irrelevant butt rock band.
But they speak the truth.
Even as a kid who loved a lot of cringe music in high school, even I knew that 14 Shades of Grey was some corny radio vomit, and I completely lost interest from there. And while I enjoy Tormented and Dysfunction to an extent, in my opinion, Break the Cycle is their really only truly noteworthy album. Like it or not, this was a force to be reckoned with when it dropped, hitting #1 on Billboard and going 5 times platinum. And frankly, I still enjoy its very specific depressive atmosphere that I've never heard exactly anywhere else. Open Your Eyes, Fade, It's Been a While, Can't Believe, all great if at the time incredibly overplayed tracks. Then we have Belphegor with Conjuring the Dead. I find the vast majority of this Blackened death metal band's discography ranges from mid to downright cringe. But this 2014 record's more symphonic turn really got me going, and I still think it's easily the best thing that they've ever put out. From the opening of Gas Mask Terror and the excellent title track to deeper cuts like Flesh, Bones, and Blood, this thing really has a sense of grandeur to it that is not present on any of their other albums. It also feels like it takes itself a bit more seriously, but without crossing the line into feeling overly so either. Just a really well-rounded album from a band that is anything but if you like symphonic, black, or death metal, you should definitely check it out.
Put up fucking job.
Next up is Disturbed with Indestructible.
Every broken enemy will know that there are bullets that be invincible. Take a last look around.
Back to the new metal, but this time with a band I never liked, even at the height of my love for this genre. I had some jams from The Sickness, but mostly I found them to be one of the cheesier bands in a scene known for its cheese.
This is so corny.
Fast forward many years to me deciding to give their discography a fair shot, and what do you know? I actually quite enjoyed this one. Damn good, catchy opener, one of their better singles overall, I would say, which feels like a compliment given how well their singles did in general. Same with Inside the Fire, with what feels like a bit more refinement to their usual formula, and I also dig The Night with that more subtle piano, as well as Haunted and Enough. Great drumming as always, too. I'd argue that this is their most consistent album from start to finish. And then we have Motionless in White with Creatures. I don't hate this band, but I do find a lot of their music to be very cringe, from the lyrics to their look to their performances themselves. But hell, I just talked about being a new metal kid, so I can't claim to say that that's objective. Even so, the bulk of their albums just don't do much for me other than make me laugh or sometimes wince, save for a song here and there. And it doesn't help that I look at these guys and their fan base largely made up of teenage girls and wonder if they'll be the next to end up in some expose article. Hopefully that won't be the case. But as someone who really loves 2000s metalcore, their debut Creatures falls right into my wheelhouse. It's much more in line with other bands I enjoy like Killswitch Engage and August Burns Red. I get why they moved into the more moody, gothy, industrial tinge stuff, but I just connect much more with this sound overall. Y'all check out this playlist for more videos like this one, and let me know down in the comments what are some albums you like from bands that you don't enjoy either. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.